Mm-mm-mm. Hello. Hello and welcome to GEOSCOPE on Labour Social. It's me, Graham Hughes, and I'm joined tonight by Ollie Hatman. How you doing,
Evening,
Ollie?
evening, evening. How are you all this
Yes,
evening?
it's all good.
Bit of a musical intro.
Anyway, so you look like where are you today? You're always traveling the world. You're in Mexico, by the looks of things.
I don't know. Google gives me these fantastic images that I can choose as a background.
I'll
So I
get it
don't
up
know where
into
this particular one is, but looks sort of Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish. If only
Yeah.
there was a word for that.
I don't know Spanish. I don't know.
Spanish. I speak a bit of Spanish, ish. Right, so we've got loads to get through tonight. A lot of it, a lot
Yeah,
of
a
Russia
lot, a
stuff.
lot, a lot tonight.
Yeah. So, but first of all, let's go with what we've got on our thumbnail. I did have more written, but YouTube was doing its malfunctioning thing where you set it up to do a live cast and it goes no, and you're like, oh no, please, and it's like no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, where's Ollie gone? He's
Hold on.
hiding.
There we go. Just
He's
turning you up.
hiding.
There we go.
Excuse me. Anyway, right. So tell us about the Taliban gaining a silver. So if you've had what 1 billion views, you get a silver button. How's it work?
Yes, if you're over a million, like 100 million subscribers, Phil's got one. He's got a YouTube silver play button. So him and the Taliban are on
On
equal
level,
equal level playing
equal
field
levels.
when it comes to
What do they send it to you through the
yeah.
post to put on the wall? It's not like the play button is silver.
No, it's not actual. It's not.
Oh,
Well, I don't know actually. I've never actually seen one in person before, but
so one of them has been sent to the Taliban.
yep,
Are you sure about that?
yep.
Haven't they just
They
like?
have had enough sort of subscribers on their YouTube channel where they've been sent a silver play button. I think this is once again raises the questions of how are sort of social media companies actually how are they actually dealing with extremism, and how can they get into a situation where you have a channel like this
Yeah.
putting out deliberate propaganda and still be around on YouTube for this length of time.
Yeah.
It's the continuing question that we've seen for years, not only just from the Taliban but other terrorist companies. The Houthis have their own TikTok star, infamously. Um, but all this stuff is out there, and it's raising that question of, well, why aren't social media companies doing this? And unfortunately, it comes down to the fact of,
Why are they doing this? You mean
well, why aren't they doing this?
why
Why aren't they doing
giving out
something
more
about this?
silver play buttons?
Well, not all that, but why are they continuing to allow these channels to continue to exist? And we know when they know we continue to know what they're doing, and I think it's coming down to just a lack of like regulation.
Yeah.
I think that is really the case here. Um, so it's just how do we regulate it in such a ways that we get these companies to actually pay attention to sort of go after these types of organizations, because
Well, they have.
I,
They've gone after them by giving them. So this was a Taliban channel called Kabul Lovers. Bit of a strange word to put in there, lovers. You don't think of that when you think of Kabul. I'm in love. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to have to behead you now. And yeah, they've been sent a plane. That is just bonkers.
mm,
That is just it's yeah. So there you go. The Taliban win an award for YouTube, and that's like winning a film award, isn't it?
yeah,
It's like giving
you wouldn't,
like
yeah,
a
exactly. You wouldn't expect them
BAFTA
to win
to
an
Al
Oscar.
Qaeda. Yeah, it's not how it's
You wouldn't
supposed to go
expect them
down.
to,
I'm pretty
but
sure. I'm pretty sure that's not how it's supposed to go. Okay, well, what else have we got on here? We've got how to isolate Russia more from Iran, India, China. So tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, I had a thought about this, because we don't often talk about what's going on in the world quite a lot, but we don't talk about sometimes how to sort of achieve stuff. And I think this
Hmm.
is one question that I think probably a lot of countries are looking about now, and discussions are going on at the moment. How can we isolate Russia even more than they already are? Because they're
Yeah.
quite isolated already diplomatically at the moment, but you've got Iran giving them weapons. We know that there's still that cross-channel weapon trade going on. Obviously, supplying them with the drones, the Shah drones that they supply to Iran. India, of course, buying a lot of Russian oil because of the sanctions. Vladimir Putin is literally giving it away. Same for China as well.
Yeah.
And it's how can we try and get these countries to say, actually, we don't want to support Russia. We actually don't approve this. Now, obviously, it's quite difficult because as you as you know yourself, these countries quite authoritarian,
Yeah.
and in many ways do share a lot of the same similarities with the Vladimir Putin's sort of government being very very authoritarian, being very sort of anti sort of freedom. It's it's quite difficult how you would approach these countries, and each of these three countries would have to be approached in a very very different way
Well, yeah.
in order
Okay.
to do this.
D-
So
But go on.
so Iran is, I think, the probably the most easiest out of all these three. I think Iran is going to be the most easiest. So in order to do that, then I
Yeah.
think we have to go back to relooking at the Iran deal, because there was
Right.
obviously with America's Iran deal that they had, that was scuppered by Donald Trump. That worked out very, very well in the past. Europe has sort of re-signed it, but again, it hasn't fully committed to it
Yeah.
after Donald Trump sort of destroyed it. So reassigning that, sort of pulling them away, getting them to
Yeah.
say, well, hey, look, if you stop supplying weapons to sort of Russia and things like that, maybe this is where we can sort of pull them away from Russia. India and China, I think, are all going to be a lot more harder, especially India.
Mm.
China, I think that comes down to the sanctions. I
China.
think if Chinese companies really, if we stepped up sanctions to say, okay, if you are a company that is, um, supplying the war effort in Russia, and we find
Yeah.
out, then you're going to get sanctioned.
Yeah.
And that, I think, would really make Chinese companies start to really pull out of Russia in quite a significant way, because they are terrified of being sanctioned, especially now when they're trying to recover their economy
Well,
post COVID.
why aren't they doing this? Why aren't the Yanks doing this? You'd expect them to be all over this. By the way,
They just haven't gone there yet, unfortunately.
I found
It's
the silver. I found the silver YouTube button. Do you want to see it?
oh, that's it.
Okay. All right. There you go. It's taken over our screen. There you go. It's an actual plaque awarded to Kabul lovers on a video called "The Taliban Has Taken Over YouTube." Yes. Anyway, right. Back to what we were talking about. So yeah. So okay. Well, that's China. China. I love the way Trump says China. China.
China.
China. Uh, what about what about Iran? I mean, well, you got the Iran, so you got the nuclear deal. Why
Yeah,
has
I think no.
why hasn't
Actually, back
Biden
to
done?
Iran as
Sorry,
well.
why
I
hasn't
think we've got to
President Biden done more
normalize
with that?
relations with Iran as well. I think that will be a big
Yes.
help if we can normalize relations with Iran, and especially admit the fact that Iran is going to be a big power player in the Middle East, just regardless of there's nothing we can really overly do to sort of really punish Iran for doing that. It's just the way that things are going to shake out.
Yeah.
I think letting that happen is not necessarily going to be the worst thing in the world. Um, there will be some problems ultimately, I think, coming from it. I don't think it's completely an infallible idea, um, but it would help a lot in this, especially when you've got the continuing rise of a very, very liberal youth in Iran that is heavily pushing back against a lot of the very, very sort of religious controls that Iran is does have on its books. We've seen the big protest against the morality police
Well,
in recent
that's
times.
settled down recently, hasn't it? We haven't
Yeah.
seen much of the. There was the sort of silent protest, wasn't there, where people
Mm.
covered their mouths? But that was over 10 years ago now. There's not been.
It happened. It flared up again recently. There was a
Right.
woman who she got videoed being
Oh,
pulled out of
yes.
a taxi by
Yes.
the sort of
This,
by the police, and that sort of resparked those
right.
protests again. So it's just one of those things that if we just if we just treat Iran like like give it show it a bit of respect, treat it like an actual proper country. I think there's a lot of stuff that you could do to sort of help sort of pull Iran sort of further out of the Russian sort of sphere of influence and stop them
Yeah.
giving sort of weapons and ammo. The big two trouble spots are going to be, well, China, as we said, the sanctions, but India. India is very, very hard. Very, very hard. I cannot see how we go about that. That's to me is very difficult.
You know what I would do?
Oh,
I'll do what the producers of the Coca-Cola Kid did, because they went to Coca-Cola and says, "Can we call this movie the Coca-Cola Kid?" This is in the 1970s, and he looked at the script and it was about this grifter who went from town to town conning people, and he went, "No." They went, "No, you're not calling it the Coca-Cola Kid," and he went, "Okay, we'll call it the Pepsi Cola Kid then." And they went, "Oh, wait, come back." And they would do the same thing. Go up to Pakistan and say, "Hey, how's it going? You're looking good. Would you like some trade deals? I don't know. What do you want?"
yeah,
um,
yeah. No, I do. That might be a way to do about it. Sort of start talking to sort of Pakistan, and then maybe that might. But in that way, that could also backfire because then they might feel more closer to Russia in that way, and you sort of got to be careful about pushing them into the arms of Russia a bit more if we did sort of support a bit more of Pakistan. But it's not it's not a completely bad idea. Um, so
yeah.
yeah, it's India's very hard. India's easily the most hardest one
Yeah, because
to do.
but the thing is, India doesn't get on with any of its neighbors. It
Yeah.
has border disputes with all of them. I
Yep.
think
Pretty much everyone.
every country that borders India, there's some kind of there's some kind
Mm.
of dispute. I mean, even Sri Lanka, which is an island, I think they dispute. There's the Adams Bridge, which runs from India to just a series of little islands that run across. I think a couple of them are disputed or something, but there used to
Mm.
be a ferry from Sri Lanka that went over to the southern tip of India. Thivandaram, I think it's called. I don't know. Someone get it right in the comments. It's got too many letters in. And yeah, that hasn't run for I don't know, for over 40 years. I don't think. And that was as a result of the Tamil Tigers and the problems that brought into
Mm.
Sri Lanka. And we saw before then, you used to be able to buy a train ticket that took you all the way from what was then Bombay to Colombo. You could buy a train ticket, and you go to the port, you get on the ferry, go across, get on another train line, and go down to the capital. Obviously, you can't do that anymore. And there's been talk for a long time about setting that up again. But yeah, India doesn't have very good relations with Burma especially after the Rohingya Muslims came across en masse from Myanmar, Burma. It doesn't have good relations with China because of the disputed regions up in the mountains,
Yep.
especially.
Just doesn't get on with anyone, really, does it?
Yeah,
But
yeah, and
I
then you've
think
got
that's
Jammu and
down to
Kashmir.
its nationalist government, from what I can always see. That's the
Well,
big problem.
but it's always been like that. I mean,
Yeah.
India's always been a bit antagonistic towards its enemy, towards its neighbors. Its neighbors. I was gonna say enemies, but like its neighbors more than anything. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's territorial claims all over the shop, which is it's one of those things where it's kind of like you think of somewhere like Sri Lanka, it's pretty small. It's not like, you
Yeah.
know. But then you've got China, and it's kind of like, why do they care? They're
Yeah.
squabbling over a few feet of snow. And then you've got Kashmir and Jammu, where like no one wants to know what the people who live there want. It's all what Pakistan wants. It's all what China wants. It's all what India wants. And how about we talk about what the people who live there want? Do they want
Yeah.
self determination? No one asked them.
Although, actually, this is an update from last week because we mentioned this just very
Yeah.
briefly. We talked about Boris Johnson's little trip to Venezuela.
Oh yes.
We've had a bit more information about that.
Oh really? Tell me
Turns
more.
out that entire trip was Boris Johnson pretty much performing freelance diplomacy. So he was paid by a hedge fund manager who I believe is from Venezuela,
What?
to go and speak to Nicolas Maduro,
Huh?
and the Foreign Office apparently did not know until Boris Johnson was practically there.
How very bizarre.
Exactly, it's so weird. It's so weird.
It's so odd.
I mean, last week we were talking about I can't understand why you would send Boris Johnson to Venezuela, and I was wondering why on earth Cameron would do that. Turns out Cameron had nothing to do with it. It was just Boris Johnson paid
Oh my
to
god.
pretty much do some freelance diplomacy.
That's at once hilarious and terrifying. Boris Johnson, like the last diplomat you'd ever want. The guy
Yeah.
who seemed, when he was foreign minister, foreign secretary, he seemed to just want to insult every country in the world in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
My God, that's that's very interesting. It's very interesting. But yeah,
We'll have to see if he goes on any more freelance diplomacy trips.
Crikey. Macron's been rattling his old saber again this week about sending forces into Ukraine. And also Grant Shapps got his internet knocked out. He was trying to finish his Wordle and he couldn't because he couldn't have any internet on his flight. And so he came home. He actually came back, didn't he?
Yes. From what we know, Russia from Kaliningrad's been actually deploying interference in and around the airspace, and apparently they heavily targeted Grant Shapps' plane, and it was forced to turn back. It's not the only world leader that's been targeted by Russia recently. The Greek Prime Minister, when he was in Odessa, speaking, actually giving a live press conference with Zelensky, and even Emmanuel Macron was going to go to Ukraine. That also had to be postponed because he too was being apparently targeted because the Russians had found out. And I think this leads back into, once again, Macron reaffirming in an interview this week that he did want to say, hey, look, we cannot have, I think, any more red lines. And I sort of agree with him because his whole argument was, look, we've had all these red lines, and all this has done is delay weapons, equipment, support getting to Ukraine because we've said, right, we've had this red line. But you look at cluster munitions. Russia has been using cluster munitions since day one of this war. And we had a red line saying, well, we're not going to send cluster munitions. And then now we are supplying Ukraine with these cluster munitions. Mainly, what they're dismantling the cluster munitions to use the little bomblets on drones.
Yeah.
So, and those have proven to be quite effective. So this is one of the things that he's talking about. Sort of, we shouldn't have sort of West lines, but it also talks what we talked about last week as well about the strategic autonomy of Europe as well.
Yeah.
Also talking about having non-civilian personnel in Ukraine, so operating the border, sort of having French border officials help to man the border posts in and around Ukraine, which of course free up manpower for Ukraine to sort of send to the front. Overall, I think it's something I think that needs saying. We talked again last week as well. Canada was quite in favor of this, and Poland as well came out recently and said that might be an idea to help Ukraine as well. So this idea is slowly but surely gathering a bit of speed, I think, because of Macron coming out and saying this and wanting to say this.
Wow. Thank you very much to Puninator there for the super chat. Graham, I think Grant Shapps was so shook up over the incident that his duties will be overseen by Michael Green and Sebastian Fox until the election. Yeah, I actually think he went out as Grant Shapps and came back as Connie Stockheath. Have you heard about the darknet scam that blew up this week?
No, I haven't heard about this.
Oh, this is a juicy one. Okay, so right on the dark web, which is the evil version of the web, there was a thing called incognito market, and on there you got your cryptocurrency. And what you did was.
Can I guess that it involves a large amount of cryptocurrency being stolen? I already.
No, but it gets better. It's even better than that. That's just standard crypto shit. This is one level above. So the way that stuff works with crypto is that you have your own wallet, and then if you wanted to buy stuff from incognito market, generally drugs or maybe weapons or bomb making equipment or whatever you were trying to buy. You would put your currency, your Bitcoin or whatever it was you were paying in, into the wallet that they provided you with, which is supposed to be secure. All your messages were encrypted, end-to-end user conscription. Encryption. Everyone getting conscripted into the army. Encryption, which means that the only people who should be able to read those messages are you, because you've got your own key, and the person that you're talking to who's got a key that allows them to open only messages from you, only that are going to them. However, for the past 5 or 6 years, the people behind the incognito market have been sitting there because to take the money back out at the other end of the interaction, people were just leaving the money in the wallet that was there rather than bringing it into their own wallets because it seemed safe enough. And they trusted this dark web website that their messages were encrypted.
Well, I see where the mistake was immediately.
Yeah. So anyway, so the site shut down last week. People lost millions of pounds, right? Don't feel too bad. These are all drug users, drug addicts, crypto bros, and gun nuts and druggies, drug dealers. But they didn't just steal all the money out of their crypto wallets. They also put up a thing on their website yesterday saying, hello, everyone. Remember us. We've stolen all your money. But for one bit of a giggle, you didn't think it was over, did you? We've got all your messages. We didn't encrypt them. We've got them all. We're going to hand them over to law enforcement unless you pay us $20,000 each.
And that, children, is why you don't invest in crypto.
How many of these crypto stories happen before people go, hang on? This might not be as secure as these con artists keep telling us it is.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I think that's actually viable, or at least actually good, is the blockchain technology. Like the technology behind that, I think actually maybe will have a purpose beyond crypto, being able to sort of track sort of transitions and things like that. I think that is a potential good technology that will exist beyond crypto.
Yeah.
Anything else, no.
Emma, thank you very much for the super chat. It's really kind. Ukraine have really stepped up targeting Russia economically. Russia are in so much trouble. Despite our government's rhetoric, we're not doing enough. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We're not doing enough. But Ukraine have got into... I've forgotten the name of the place now. Belgorod. In the south, haven't they? They've started throwing...
Yes, they've gone into
everything they've got.
They've also established another bridgehead. They've taken a place called Kuransky, or something like that, I think it's called. It's across the Dnipro River. Yeah. And they actually took this during a snowstorm. So they basically winter warred Russia, if you are familiar with the Winter War and the Swedish assault. Again, just bit of history there repeating itself again. But that is a good sign, and of course, the Russian Free Legion advancing into Belgorod, taking the election.
So the Russian Free Legion is actually Ukrainian, isn't it? It's Ukrainian backed, but they're Russian speakers, so they're like, well, you can't complain. You decided to come here, and Billy's saying, buy off the Russian front line. You could. A couple of bottles of vodka, you could march straight into bloody Moscow.
I mean, we saw what happened during the Wagner coup. There's nothing behind the line.
No,
there was nothing to stop Wagner at all, and that's the shocking thing. And one of the things, there's two.
Well, there was something, Ollie.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Stupidity.
Stupidity that they stopped. Well, like I say,
Oh, get
according
onto
to
this
Vladimir
plane.
Putin, he was playing around with a grenade on a plane.
Yeah,
What could we
they were playing.
expect?
They were playing catch with a grenade on the plane
Yeah,
at 20,000 feet because that's what you do.
yeah. Just very, very convenient. But also this week, because even though there have been those, and let's face it, these advances that you've heard about are very, very minor. We are talking, um, Vladimir Putin is almost cosplaying General Melchin in some cases in these announcements of taking these things, because their gains on these are so small. Yes, they've managed to take a town or a village here, but the reality is those gains have been very, very small for gigantic losses. Just
Yeah.
taking Adivka was 17,000 troops it cost them.
Wow.
So that is a lot of troops for very, very little gain. And just this week as well, we've been seeing a lot of Ukrainian drone activity
Yeah.
striking the Russian oil plants and oil depots. In fact, striking one of the second largest oil processing plants in Russia.
Yeah.
So that is incredibly impressive to again demonstrate what we've kept on saying throughout all this. If you give Ukraine the stuff to get the job done, then yeah, they can get the job done.
Yeah.
Another thing that came up as well recently, obviously Cameron was in Germany talking to Schultz about this as well, and there's currently a potential deal in the works of
Mm.
we are going to buy Germans' Taurus missiles,
Yeah.
which are sort of the cruise missiles, and then in return we are going to go, well, all these Storm Shadows we've got in stock, well, we're just going to give them to Ukraine.
Yeah.
So if that deal goes through, which again, fingers crossed that it does, that could be very, very significant for Ukraine, because all of a sudden they're going to have an awful lot of Storm Shadow missiles, and they've shown in the past that they can use them very effectively. And if they have that many, then I don't think the Kerch Bridge will be standing too much longer. Indeed,
Oh
because that's what
dear.
they're being used. So
Oh
again,
well.
fingers crossed that comes off.
Yes. We're being corrected, I'm afraid, in the chat. It's Finland, not Sweden, who won the Winter War against the USSR.
Well, I think I'm talking about the other the Great Winter. Was it the Great Winter War? It's
there
like
was a war between Sweden and like Peter the Great or something.
that.
That was a long time
That
ago.
might be the one I'm thinking of.
That's
Yes,
the one.
it was
That's
against
the one
Peter
we
the
meant.
Great. Yes,
Yeah.
that'll be the one. Yeah, the Great Winter War, which was in itself really bizarre and a weird war, but that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, an infamous assault by Swedish troops through a blizzard right into the lines of the Russians. And like I say, the Ukrainians have now done that across the Dnipro, and it's quite succeeded quite well, apparently. So yeah,
That's all good. Yeah. Simon's asking in the chat: has the Chernobyl cleanup been delayed?
probably.
Well, probably.
With this war.
I would think. I mean that the Russian troops all over the Chernobyl area, the exclusion zone. They went through it.
Yeah,
like
not only just went through it, but dug trenches.
Yeah, they dug trenches in the radioactive soil, and they were saying at the time like they didn't know, because the media is so controlled in Russia and what people see and what people know about stuff. They didn't really know about Chernobyl. They didn't know what happened because it was all sort of kept secret from them. Apparently, Sweden won that one. And Plum says, this is like my weekly war updates. Well, I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about Russia some more, but we're going to talk about Slovakia. Used to be part of Czechoslovakia, not Slovenia, which used to be part of Yugoslavia, different place. Slovakia's opposition sounds alarm over Russia's tilt.
Yeah. So this is quite worrying, because Slovakia has had a very, very big right-wing push, and this right wing has been very, very pro Putin in Russia, which, if it comes off, potentially creates a corridor from Belarus, Slovakia into Hungary. And there's talks that maybe the why that this is sort of happening, and why especially the opposition in Slovakia, the left-wing opposition in Slovakia are pushing for this, is that sanctions might be attempted to be subverted if Putin's
Right.
got this sort of corridor.
Yeah.
Also, again, very worrying the fact that you have a very pro-European country, a very good democratic country that is going to be sort of making such a pro-Putin tilt.
Yeah.
And it's really depressing, unfortunately, when you see things like this. And I think it's one of the things that we've always got to repeat: of never ever think that it can't happen in your country, because unfortunately, we've seen over the past couple of years, yes, it can happen in your country, and it can happen with sometimes without your knowledge. There's been quite a lot of warnings recently about Ireland. Could it maybe have a very similar fate? Is it Flynn O'Toole, the guy who writes for the Irish Times, I think it is.
Yeah.
He's written a couple of articles recently in the wake of the referendum, once again warning about they should be worried in Ireland about the rise of a potential far right faction. And Slovakia, once again, no one thought that was going to be an issue, but here you have a country that is being very much taken over by the right, and not only just Slovakia, Portugal as well.
Yeah.
What we used to consider a very, very left-wing country, recently having a big far right question. Sorry, I've just seen that urgent question. Where's my?
Yes, we have a super chat. Da, da, da.
Oh yeah.
Put on your bowler hat, man. Awesome stuff. There you go.
Oh yeah.
It's funny when you're wearing your sort of your hoodie or whatever it is. You kind of sometimes your entire body disappears, and it's just like a head floating
in a green,
like Holly from Red Dwarf or something. Which is great fun. Maybe one week you should do it, and it's just.
I'll do that next Halloween. Halloween, I'll come dressed as.
I did that. I did that when I did the Sunday roast for Halloween with Al and Maximilian, and I wore like a green. I've got like a green screen material, and I just wore that for the whole thing, so I just looked like a disembodied head floating about. Serendipity Journey says, I was just going to mention Portugal. The far right now have 18% of the vote. I think I read it somewhere.
Yeah, and it so much bears repeating. Do not think the right wing can't get into your politics or anything like that, because the second you start with that complacency, well,
don't let you end up
like Portugal. No one would have thought that was possible or even a thing. And
well, look at France. I mean, the successive presidential elections, Marine Le Pen has just got more and more percentage of the vote, to the point where you meet three French people and one of them's a fascist. What were they the ones who welcomed the Nazis in? Just like what?
And this also now raises problems of a question for Ukraine, because Le Pen in the past has been very friendly with Putin.
Yes,
very friendly. And remember,
fascist, so that makes sense.
The French president, just like the American president, is sort of the commander-in-chief. Yeah. So if Macron does decide to send troops, or at least non-combat troops, to sort of aid Ukraine on like border positions or things like that, she can just go, no, not doing it anymore, and just pull them out.
Yeah.
So that is, again, there's, like I say, 70 elections this year, and a lot of them, depending on which way they go, could have a lot of consequences.
Yeah. And it's never good ones. Well, Trump said this week that if he doesn't win, there's going to be a bloodbath. Funny that, because if he does win, there'll also be a bloodbath. So, bloodbaths all around in America. Hooray for populism and reality TV show people. Sorry?
He'll plot another coup.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, he's got to pay $464 million that he doesn't have, and no one will give him the insurance on the bond.
Next week, next Tuesday. I don't think the news will have broken by the time we're doing this, but it will be the case with Stormy Daniels
Yes.
about Trump giving campaign money to Stormy Daniels. We get that next week on the 25th.
Yes.
Once again, Trump could end up owing even more money because he can't, according to news, he can't pay the bond.
Has that not been put back, the Stormy Daniels one? I thought
Nope,
that was put back
25th
in.
apparently. It is being announced, I think.
So they've got Michael Cohen, Stormy Daniels, both going to.
Oh no, we will have. Yes, Monday. Yes, the 25th is a Monday. So yeah, we'll probably be talking about it next week.
Oh, cool.
Very likely.
Yeah.
So Trump will be in even more trouble next week.
Yeah, 25th of March. Okay, I can't see. So I thought one of them. They keep getting delayed, don't they? A lot of the trials.
Yep.
There's just so many of them. So this is the first of his 4 criminal trials.
Yeah.
So for the last few civil suits, he lost Trump University. He lost against Eugene Cavill. He lost, and like the amount that he's had to pay, like for Trump University, I think it was like a couple of million.
Yeah.
For Eugene Cavill, it's nearly 100 million. And for the fraud case, the New York civil fraud case, nearly $500 million when it's all added up, and he just hasn't got the money. He's a big, big I am, and he says he's got all this money in his his properties, but he doesn't own 100% of all those properties, and a lot of those properties have got mortgages on them. So it's a bit like going, well, I'm worth my house. I don't have a house, but if I did, my house is worth $500,000. I've still got to pay $300,000 off the mortgage, but I'm worth $500,000. It's like, well, no, you're not. You still got.
Michael Warner in the chat says, "What if he doesn't pay? Does he go to jail?" No. At that point, they'll send around the bailiffs. They'll start going after his assets.
Yeah, liquidizing his assets, liquidizing. Liquefying. They'll start turning his buildings into money. There'll be a fire sale, and people will be able to buy his big, horrible, gaudy towers, and I don't know, knock them down and have a park or something instead, because that'd be nicer. But yeah, it's so you got the three civil trials. They've all kind of done now, sort of. He's appealing, but you can only appeal if you put the money up, and he hasn't put the money up for this, even though he says he wants to appeal. So he's probably going to lose all the money and not be able to appeal, and lose a lot of his property. Can they go after stuff that's not in New York? I assume they can.
I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure on that. But I think they probably could, to be honest. Yeah. I can't see why they're not, unless, again, we've got an American law expert who can elucidate and tell us more.
Simon Chandler's saying that Trump could crowdfund, and yes, he could. Yeah. It's just a question of whether there's 500 millionaires out there who are daft enough to give him $1 million each. There might be, there might be.
Elon Musk might, sailing.
Elon Musk. Now. Well, I mean, the leaders of China, Iran, Russia, Saudi Arabia, they might all club in, and then they'll have like a bit of they'll have a hold over the presidency of the United States of America. That'll be nice. Anyway, Emma, thank you very much for the super chat. Woo! Trump is really done now. I've said this for weeks. Stormy case has been delayed for 30 days. Me and hubby have popcorn out watching the car crash. Yeah, I thought it'd been delayed. I'll just double check. But yeah, I thought that it wasn't happening next week.
Yeah. The one I'm watching out for, the one I want to see is the Georgia one. The Georgia one, where he was caught basically acting like a mafia boss. Yes. That's the one I want to watch.
That might not start till after the election, though.
Yeah, that's true. But that's the one that carries jail time.
Yeah.
And that could be very interesting.
Yeah, it was scheduled for March the 25th, but it's been delayed for 30 days. Yeah. The Supreme Court. This is to do with the Supreme Court hearing arguments over whether Trump is immune from criminal prosecution as a former president.
I think they have they ruled on that case yet? I thought they
they're delaying it for as long as they can to give Trump as much runway as they can. So he can run for office again and win, and then bring America into civil war. So last time when Trump was running, I made 3 websites. I made Jihadists for Trump, which was about the Taliban supporting Trump, which used real quotes from the Taliban at the time, who said they wanted Trump to win in 2020. The other one I made was called Hail the Dark Lord, and it was the Southern Baptist, the Southern Satan, the Southern Florida, I keep saying Baptist, Satanic Temple. That's it. The Southern Florida Satanic Temple, who were calling for people to vote for Donald Trump because he was the Antichrist from the Bible, and it had all these quotes from the Bible in it of what the Antichrist was like, and it just all described Trump. That was quite fun. And there was one called Putin for Trump, which was an erotic love story, S&M, in which Putin was the dom and Trump was the sub. Right. And all the pleasure that, and it's in Russian, but you can use Google Translate to translate it into English. And if you go actually to Putin4 Trump.com, that one's still up. I'm going to put the other ones back up, and I've thought of one today that I'm going to do. It's going to be called Gangsters. It's spelled like gangster with an A, 2 A's, and Gangsters for Trump. And this is going to be about basically gangster rappers saying that they're going to vote for Trump. So Trump gets in, all the honkies start killing each other, civil war, and then they just turn up and they just massacre everyone who owns a farm and grow loads of weed. That's the plan.
Yep.
Who's going to stop us? The police? Don't think so, because, we'll have our revenge on them first, because obviously Trump is into making sure that police people are unalived, as 2 police officers died as a direct result of the insurrection on January the 6th. Mm-hmm. So, if you vote for Trump, you're not someone who wants to defund the police. You want someone who wants to decease the police. I'm writing that down. Decease the police. Yeah. I'm going to do another website. Decease the police.
Should we just cut a rap album out of it? This anyway. Hot album from Paula and Graham.
But yeah, so Trump's legal issues are hilarious. I mean, sickening that this guy is running for the most powerful office in the world, and he's just been allowed to. And 70 million Americans are like, yeah, this is fine.
Speaking of running for office, we should probably mention, of course, who won the Russian election, because I don't know, Graham. Who do you think?
Oh God, no, I didn't. I don't know.
Who do you think won the Russian election?
Was it Andrei Navalny?
No.
Oh no, because he's dead. Oh, was it the guy who used to run Wagner?
No, dead as well.
Oh, was it Alexander Litvinenko?
No.
Oh, he's dead as well, isn't he? I don't know. I give up. Who was it?
Well, it was Vladimir Putin, of course.
No way. Well, he was an outside bloody bet.
I know.
I wish I put a $5 on that. I'll be a bloody millionaire now. God,
so here's 2 questions for you, right? I want you to try and guess. First of all, I want you to try and guess by how much do you think, of percentage-wise, do you think Vladimir Putin won by? And what do you think was the highest number of the vote percent that one of the opposition candidates who was running against Putin?
I think he got 87%, and the highest one against him got like 2.7 or something.
Yeah, it was 87% for Putin, and it was 3.97%. So almost 4%.
Almost 4%.
Almost.
Very, very brave people voting for that fake person who probably doesn't even exist. This was just an AI. AI creation. This is my opponent. Yes, I'm your opponent. I oppose what you're doing.
Why am I being wheeled towards a window?
115% says Billy. Yeah. He's won with 115% of the votes. Because all these dead people came back to life just to vote for Putin. All the dead people he killed in the war.
74, 75% nearly. Actually, no, I think it was higher than that. I think it was like 78%. turnout.
I mean, a lot of Russians believe it in the same way that a lot of British people think that Brexit is still a good idea. You know, a lot of Americans think Trump will make a really good president again, even though he's absolutely fucking awful the first time. Where did he spend half his time at the golf club? Didn't get any significant. What bills did he get through? What did he pass? He had a massive tax cut.
Look, he was making America great. It takes a lot of golf to make America great again.
Massive tax cut for the rich. He didn't build a freaking wall that he said he was going to do. He didn't bring criminal charges against Hillary Clinton, but her emails. He didn't do any of that shit. He just went and played golf. And then when he got kicked out because he wasn't doing any work, he had COVID, didn't he? What did he say for COVID? Oh, you want to just inject yourself with some bleach? Or shine some UV light up your arse. That'll get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, Boris Johnson advocated a hairdryer. I think it was. Was it?
Yeah.
Boris Johnson.
Yeah. Boris Johnson, hairdryer up your nose. Yeah. And a good chunk of the British population want him back. Thinking is hard.
Yep.
I'd rather do the lazy thing and just let, I don't know, the Daily Mail do all my thinking for me. Oh, anyway, so Richard Tice had a bit of a fail there. It's a bit of a domestic thing, but apparently he doesn't like it when people call Reform far right, and he's threatened to sue anyone who calls Reform far right. So I'll just call them refuck instead.
Oh dear.
James O'Brien calls them reflux.
Reflux.
Which is quite funny. Okay, so last news story. Bolsonaro coup revealed by ex-commanders. So tell me about this.
So as you all know, Bolsonaro was a big fan of Trump. And when he lost to Lula, turns out there were plans in the works to actually pull a coup against Lula.
Based on the failed coup of Trump's?
Yeah, well, actually, they wanted to get the military involved. Part of the plan was they were going to get the civilians out. The civilians were going to come out, protest en masse, and sort of demand that the military come in and reinstate Bolsonaro to do this. And part of the plan was, of course, you had the protest, which happened. Another part of the protest was Bolsonaro would go out of the country, which, again, he did, so that, he could be brought back. And also to have deniability as well, according to the reports by these commanders. But these commanders, once again, were going to sort of rally the rest of the Brazilian army and sort of get them to come in. They were going to come in and sort of go into the sort of government, take over the systems of power, and then they would hand over power back to Bolsonaro. It turns out, of course, that didn't happen. And there was a similar January the 6th type event. And of course, right now, Brazil is having their own investigations, just like America did in the wake of their January the 6th. And they are finding all this stuff out now that Bolsonaro wanted a full-scale coup to take over the country and potentially looks of it being installed as dictator for life.
Yeah, well... he's been formally accused today of something else. Falsifying his COVID-19 vaccination data, which could result in a potential 4-year jail sentence, no less. So apparently the investigation found several false insertions, between November 2021 and December 2022.
Phrasing, Graham, phrasing.
And also, that's what it says on the website. And also many actions using fraudulent documents. So there you go. This is like Trump going down for paying off a porn star, or like Al Capone going down for tax evasion. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's not what they are. It's not the biggest crime they committed, but
it's all the small stuff that trips them up and gets them, and then it leads to more bigger stuff being uncovered.
Yes. So hopefully Bolsonaro will be they'll find him a nice box that he can put in there, vaccine free. There is the Venn diagram of anti-vaxxers, conspiracy nuts, and Trump voters, Bolsonaro voters, Putinists. It's just a circle, isn't it? It's just that there's a group of people whose brains are just
fried. Let's face it.
Do you reckon they're fried though? Do you reckon it's nature or nurture? Do you reckon it's just they're just like that, or?
I I don't know. It's difficult to say. I think it's a bit of everything, really. I think it's everything from like the media diet, the stuff that they consume, um, what's going on in their life as well. I think social media now has a lot to play in the sort of polarization of this. Um, it could be anything really. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we need. We need a sociologist on to come and need a sociologist to come and tell us what's going on here.
Well, I mean, my theory, and I've said this before, is that in the past, every village had an idiot, but they'll go to the pub after work with the other people, the normal people in the village, and they'll say something really stupid like, I think the moon landings were faked. And then the rest of the people in the village will go, shut up, you're an idiot. And they'll go, oh, yeah, I am an idiot. I've got shit for brains. My name's Terry Fuckwit, whatever. And that'll be it. Now, every village idiot can find a village idiot from another village using the internet. And there are millions of villages around the world.
We've connected the idiots.
That's what the internet has done. It's brought all the idiots together, and it reinforces their crazy worldview. So they say, oh, I think 9/11 was an inside job. And you're like, what makes you think that? And they say, the YouTube video. Okay.
Great. Well, if it's the YouTube video, can't be wrong.
YouTube. Yeah. Read it on a website.
Mm.
Well, you can't make a website unless you've got a PhD in bloody, mechanical engineering and the effects of jet fuel on skyscrapers built in the 1970s, specifically. Yeah. Princess Diana.
I'll tell you else who was a big COVID denier. Our favorite Argentinian anarcho cap man. I don't know if you saw the news about him recently.
No, what's he been up to?
Yes, in his first full month in office, he has declared that because he's been slashing all these social funds, getting rid of different governmental departments, for the first time since I think 2012, Argentina now has a budget surplus.
Right. Okay.
Because he's gone on full scale libertarian, slash get rid of all these social programs, etc. So of course, what happens? Argentina's got a budget surplus. But another thing that came out in January as well, Argentina now has a 57% poverty rate.
Yeah, the poverty rate's going up and up, isn't it?
Yep. So my prediction for Milei is not going to last long at this rate, because people aren't going to like the fact that they've lost all these top social benefits that they had. And one of the big things was,
well, they voted for it. I mean, millions of people voted for this guy who specifically said, I'm going to fuck you up. And now they're like, but I didn't expect me to.
One of the big things I think he's done that's going to have the biggest impact is he's now gotten rid of subsidizing bus travel. One of the poorest countries, and how important it is to be able to travel and get around, and especially in like Argentina's capital,
Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires, yeah. One of the most urbanized cities in the world. That's going to have a massive impact. That's going to have a massive impact when that happens. Or at least when those really start to kick in, when people now having to pay ever increasing bus fares, and the peso is worthless practically at this point.
Yeah, well, he wants to change the US
inflation.
He wants to change the US dollar anyway, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's his attempt to, but I can't see how he does it. And then, as we've said before, America's not going to print you any more money.
Yeah.
If they get into trouble and they've got this, and then they're dollarized, America's not going to come and print you more money. So,
Matthias Venego, the former central bank official, said Milei is taking a huge gamble with the Argentinian people. If he doesn't deliver results soon, I think that protest will soon turn violent. Things could get ugly.
And of course, he's passed anti-protest laws as well. So, they're going to get violent. He's right there.
Inflation has now gone from, it was, when he got in, inflation was already at 143% when he got in. Do you want to know what it is now?
I think it's 200 and something now, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, 276%.
Almost 300.
The poverty rate hit 57.9%. in January, the highest in 20 years. So yeah, shock therapy, make the rich richer, and just let it all trickle down. Let the poor die, and then
And
anyone give you any shit?
I'd love to get someone.
Push 'em out the plane.
I'd love to get someone as a guest on from Argentina.
Yeah.
To tell us what's going on over here. So if you are like if you are like the Argentinian version of Graham and you've traveled to all these different,
No, I've got a couple of friends in Argentina. I could try and drop a couple of them a line, see how they're doing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd love to get someone from Argentina to come tell us just what's going on over there, because there's probably tons of stuff that we don't know not living there.
I've got a good friend in Moscow. But I doubt they'll want to come on this and talk about what shitty things bloody Putin's doing. Anyway, right, okay. Well, let's read a couple more in the chat. Reagan Leet says, "But my Facebook friend says, yeah, I saw a Facebook meme. Meme, great YouTube video. That's all you need to. We're doing an exam these days, not an exam, coursework, and you got to give your references. Just YouTube,
Facebook, Wikipedia."
And what you can do now is, because technology's come on so much, you can actually copy and paste the meme that you are referring to into your actual scientific paper, and they'll accept it. The more memes you have, the more chance you have of it being, accepted into a major publication.
I need to do that now. I need to go do an essay on get me a Roman Empire degree and just find all those Roman Empire memes.
All the memes. All the memes.
I can relate it to like the graffiti that the Romans used to do.
Indeed.
That's my PhD doctorate.
Chatty Rat says, I can see a return of the military junta in Argentina. Yeah, I can see that too. And Plum Duff is saying, my A-bot has gone nuts. It says Teresa Coffee is an untalented baboon. I think your AI bot's completely spot on there. And then we've got Puninator saying, I believe there are lines even the wouldn't cross. I may be wrong, but I have to believe it for my own sense of sanity. Well, yeah. I mean, one of the things that these channels that we make, and Ollie's channel and Maximilian and Super Tansky and Phil and Aid and everyone, it goes a long way to keeping me sane. The fact that I'm just not like a lone voice going, is this a bit mad? Because this seems a bit mad to me. So at least to get the reassurance from you watching, and also from the other people content creating.
We should try and get H Bomber.
H Bomber
guy. Probably one of the biggest UK lefties.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that will be quite fun to have him on Labour Social some point.
Well, and you've just segued beautifully into my final point. Labour Social on Friday. Tune in, because we've got Tom Gray from Gomez who's going to be on the panel, because he's standing as a Labour MP. True story. So if you want to come and, I don't know, do some Tijuana Lady Whipping Piccadilly lyrics, throw them into the chat, you're very welcome to.
Well, warn him. I'm going to ask. I want to know, because I think Ukraine is going to be, I think, a central issue. So I'd love to see what he's going to see, talk about Ukraine and what he would do as a Labour MP to sort of help keep the support up, not only here in the UK but around the world for Ukraine. So I'm going to ask him those questions.
Well, okay, all right. I'm just going to be talking about Gomez the whole time.
Oh, wow.
The drummer from Gomez is called Ollie as well, by the way. And I interviewed him back many moons ago when I worked for the BBC. I interviewed Gomez. I did a gig review of Gomez, and I interviewed Ollie, the drummer. I think they might still be online. I'll try and dig them out for the show. But yeah, Gomez, great band. And don't let me forget to tell my Whipping Piccadilly story, because I've got a corking ripping yarn from days of yore. When I was racing home from a Radiohead concert from Manchester, because Whipping Piccadilly is about racing home after a gig from going to Piccadilly train station in Manchester to get out of there to head back to wherever you need to go. Anyway, so Tom Gray, he'll be on the show. You'll be able to ask him questions if you want on the chat. And Jez Hunt says, no way, Gomez are awesome. Yes, they are. Bring It On won the Mercury Music Award in 1998, I think. And to win one of the Mercury Awards in the 90s was pretty epic. That was a good decade for music. Anyway, I saw them live and they were awesome.
And chat, I'm gonna try and channel the powers of chat now. I want you all to go to, if you've got a Twitter account still, go to Twitter and go to Dylan Burns and say, hey, come on Geoscope, because I've been trying to get him on for a while and get his attention, but because I'm not anymore now that you're not a paid, member.
Oh, no one pays any attention now.
Yeah, I'm not giving money to Twitter anymore.
No, but what you do, Ollie, I've got it, right? You befriend someone who's got a tick and you get them to retweet something that you tweet, and then suddenly you just get literally a million interactions. It is, yeah. That's what I did last week. I got Super Tansky to retweet something that I put up there, and it went off for the first time since Musk took over. So probably more 18 months or something. I haven't had a tweet really take off, but it did. So there you go. Top tips. Graham and Ollie, befriend someone with a blue tick.
Yeah,
but not a blue tick wanker.
Let them give money to Elon Musk.
Yeah, they let them give money to Elon Musk, the bastard. All right, Ollie, thank you very much for talking to us tonight, and thank you very much to everyone in the chat, everyone who dropped in the super chat. Really appreciate it. I'll be back in the morning with Morning Brew at 9:30, followed by PMQs at 12 o'clock. Doesn't look like there's going to be an announcement for a general election, unfortunately.
Oh, did you see Jeremy Hunt say, well, we've got to have this budget squared away before October, before the October general election? It's like, that's awfully suspicious, that.
Oh. Anyway, right. Well, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye.